When I was learning how to kayak, I remember my teacher looking at me when we got into our boats and saying, "Sarah, you get the goofiest grin on your face when we get into these boats." It was true. It is still true. I love being on the water, in a boat or swimming, or just sitting on the shore. Water is where I feel the most free, the most connected to awe and mystery. It is my meaning-making metaphor. When I think about my relationship to water, there are moments, pictures that stand out so clear in my mind. I would love to take you along with me through some of these memories. If you want, feel free to close your eyes and imagine with me. I'm a young kid, and we have a small sailboat we take out onto Horsetooth Reservoir in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. If we get going at a good clip, I love to sit on the bow with my toes dangling in the water. I watch as the water spills around my feet, making trails behind my heels. People say that when they made the reservoir, there was a ghost town which got submerged, and on really clear, calm days, you can still see some of the structures, homes, a church steeple. I like to imagine the water holding the whole town while my feet skim the surface just overhead, almost like I'm dancing in the town sky. Older now, I'm in whitewater with my kayak. Absolutely jubilant, I'm breathless with the excitement of navigating through a rapid. I let out a joyous whoop at the thrill as I clear what I thought was the final hole. Suddenly, I descend a wave and look up in time to see that I am heading straight for a wall of water on the other side. The water hits me hard, and my boat flips over, and I am pinned to a rock. For a moment, I can feel the full force of the river holding me, pushing me, constant. I pull myself out of my boat. I push hard with my legs and find freedom in the current. The moment teaches me to always respect the water. Play, be joyful, but never take for granted the power that is there. Now I am walking arm in arm down a path with my friends towards Seeley Lake in Montana. We are loudly singing, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz?" as we head out for a night swim. There is still a warm layer of water on the surface of the lake, the remnants of the hot summer day. I swim away from my friends. I dive down and down, the water getting colder, the darkness more complete. I dive down until I'm too scared to go further. The eeriness of the dark, the silence, and the chill overwhelming. I pop back up and float. I can see so many stars. In that moment, I feel suspended in the universe, the scent of water lilies thick in the air. Gratitude. It is August, and I am so very pregnant. The coolness of the pool, in and of itself, is enough to make me feel truly grateful. But more than that, it is this moment when my body feels the relief from the relentlessness of gravity. I get a break from the pressure, the pull on my back, and my newly jangly hips. I am so delightfully supported. And I find my fun again, turning somersaults in the water. I do handstands, and I can feel the precious being I share my body with. I can feel them spinning too. I laugh, caught up in the mystery of it all.
Our reading today is by Roger Rosenblatt from an article he wrote called Wrinkled, Flabby, Buoyant. What happens to the body in water, the flabby, bony, wrinkled body, my body, is a quiet miracle. You're trudging along on land, reluctantly dragging the 1940s cargo vessel you've become, and then you step oh so carefully into the water, and as soon as your body feels the cool liquid element around you, you're ageless. Memory takes you back to childhood, and you swim just as you did in your 20s, though this time you have brains. And that's the beauty of it. Age has endowed you with knowledge and experience. Now in water, you have achieved the impossible. You are young and old simultaneously, a wet Dorian Gray. No one sings in water. Did Esther Williams sing? But your exuberance may make you feel like singing. Either that or weeping with inexpressible joy. I know a writer, hardly old, but not a girl anymore, who swimming in a reservoir was overwhelmed by the sight of ducks and the surrounding pines and broke into tears. Obviously, I feel none of that. I'm just an old man enjoying the water and the quiet, feeling peaceful, if a bit tired, almost but not quite like an Irish selkie who lives on land only temporarily, and whose true home is the sea. It's amazing how many of my best memories are water adjacent. I mean, I grew up in Oregon, so they generally aren't about swimming in lakes or, heaven forbid, the ocean. But I remember getting to drive the boat on the river. I remember my little sister Carrie and I standing up and dropping our fishing lines baited with worms over the back of the boat, which was grounded on the beach at the mouth of the Nestucca River. We'd watch the mudcats, or bullheads, depending on who you're talking to, fight over the worm, only to have the victor hauled up unglamorously out of the water, where my dad would take it off the hook, put another worm on for us, and we'd do it all over again. I remember holding on to a tree and leaning over and pulling rough-skinned newts out of the pond between our house and our neighbor's house up Schooner Creek outside of Lincoln City. And 25 years later, taking my daughters newt hunting at the Audubon Society, which they now frown upon. I remember hours and hours on the beach all of my life. And the happy realization that even though I have lived in 4 different states, I have always lived within 100 miles of an ocean. I remember swimming with my mom and my sister at the local pool in McMinnville and many years of swim lessons. I remember swimming with Mom as the most free her body ever was. I believe she felt buoyant and would let us clutch our arms around her neck or shoulders and float behind her, carried in the water through her body. I remember a great 3-day canoe trip down the Willamette River. It was part of a Girl Scout camp unit called Canoe, and how we were so proud that we out-paddled the Boy Scouts that were canoeing down the same river. And the pain of the 120 mosquito bites, 90 of them from here up, that I got from clutching the sleeping bag over my head as we were camping next to the river. And thanks to you, I remember being about 7 months pregnant. We were living in Rhode Island, and we went down to Key West and floating in a pool on a mat, and I could lay on my stomach for the first time in months and hear the tropical birds over me, and it was just the most sensual experience of my life, I think. As an adult, the beach is my happy place, and I am so grateful that it's my youngest daughters as well. I love tide pooling and agate hunting and just walking along the shoreline. I love canoeing and kayaking and bird watching and just being near water. What are your memories of water? Is it something you love? Is it something that scares you? Do you enjoy being in it or on it or next to it? Or is a hot shower your limit? I'm going to invite you right now to take a couple of moments to remember your best associations with water. Just settle in and think of a few things. And now, I'm going to invite you to share those memories with someone near you. If you don't want to share, there is no forced sharing. You can just kind of put your head down and nobody will bug you. But I invite you to share. Did you enjoy that? Good. Good. Water is important, not just because it keeps us alive, but because it is perhaps the thing that keeps us the most sane and balanced, most able to be in that state of what they call light-focused. We know that science shows us that water sounds are calming to the human brain. Our heart rate slows, our blood pressure drops, and we actually relax. When my sister Carrie and her husband Gene moved to Central Oregon in 2019 from their home in Kirkland, Washington, Carrie spent hours going through home listings. The thing she knew she was going to miss the most about their house in Kirkland was the small view of Lake Washington that they had. She couldn't imagine living someplace where they couldn't see water. But Bend is expensive, and any place on the river was going to be out of their price range. And so when she saw the home in Redmond that they eventually bought, with the pond off the back deck that hosts deer and ducks and geese during certain times of the year, she told Gene, "Hey, I found our house." I know some of you are lucky enough to live on a river here. What a gift that is. But I am grateful for that even for those of us who don't live on a river, we aren't far from flowing water. The Clackamas and the Willamette and even the Columbia aren't far. In an opinion piece from the New York Times written by Bonnie Sui in April of 2020. You remember April of 2020? Yeah. Called "What I Miss Most is Swimming." She writes, "When we peer into a lake, river, or ocean, we find that water encourages a particular kind of reverie. Perhaps its depth can enhance our consciousness even more if instead of just looking, we get in and swim. We jump into that water and find ourselves in a curious liminal space. Here we are, suspended, yet moving, floating, yet ever in danger of sinking. And if we swim with the current instead of fighting against it, we find a momentary state, one of motion and yet paradoxical stillness that is flow. The focused immediacy of swimming, she writes, encourages a mindset that reminds me of how my young children think. It's an ever-presentness. Every past moment is immediately replaced by a new one, a constant stream of now and now and now that doesn't allow too much room to dwell too long on things past or what is to come. Living in the now is a state of being that my busy brain finds challenging, and yet I desire it. Swimming is an antidote for the essential anxiety from which I struggle. Sui writes that the physical action of swimming, moving our bodies in practiced ways through water, gives us a certain mental state of flow, where we can actually let our minds wander. Many thinkers write of the importance of being bored in creating a space where we can think about new ideas. Because without space, creativity doesn't happen. But even though I don't think anyone swimming would describe themselves as bored, it does allow for that focus on the present moment that allows meditation, creativity, and a sense of peace to flourish. It is why often going for a walk is an important part of my sermon writing process. One of my favorite water memories is bringing our foster daughter, Jess, to visit my parents at the coast in Thanksgiving back when we lived in Rhode Island. Now, Rhode Island has several lovely beaches, which I will note, have the advantage of being able to swim in the ocean. Something that isn't a smart choice here. But she had never seen the Pacific Ocean before. And at age 16, watching her just stand slack-jawed, looking at the 12 to 14-foot waves that were crashing against the beach in November is a sight that I will never forget. Because water, especially big water like the ocean, is one of the best places to get lost in awe and wonder. If spirituality is, in fact, a sense of being part of something larger than yourself, watching the ocean is a sure way to tap into that sense of immensity. Sui writes, the marine biologist and author Wallace J. Nichols is an evangelist for achieving what he calls blue mind, which emphasizes the importance of drifting to discovery and water as a way to enable that process. Being around water provides a sensory-rich environment with enough soft fascination to let our focused attention rest and the default mode network to kick in, he writes. Water is essential medicine more than ever. Friends, the news is rough. We know that. Fascism, authoritarianism, cruelty is drawing nearer in so many ways. And so, while I don't want you to bury your head in the sand, I do want to invite you in these last few weeks of summer to go observe a body of water near you. Swim if you can, wade if that is what is available to you, or just for a few minutes, sit and watch. It will do your heart good, I promise you. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.